Welcome back, everybody, to Bravo Tea with the Stay-at-Home Mom. I'm Erika, and I'm ready to get into some Bravo Tea. We got the premiere of Summerhouse, very anticipated because I feel like all of our eyes are on Carl and Lindsay because, yes, they will be reuniting, sharing a house, pretty wild. And I feel like we're so ready to see Paige as well because we already know, fast forward to modern day, that her and Craig are not together. So we're very interested to see when Craig comes to visit or her just gossiping with the ladies about Craig, the inside scoop. I mean, my opinion is still the same. Don't really know how he was that blindsided, but maybe she was leading him on behind closed doors. But let's get right into the recap of Summerhouse. And then at the end, we will recap the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I want to do Summerhouse first since it's the premiere. Got a lot more to talk about. I feel like this episode of Beverly Hills is like a little bit of a dud. But everyone is on their way to the Hamptons. Paige and Ciara are sharing a car. And she said that Craig came to Italy with her family again. So I guess this is the second or third time he's done it. And she said her and her brothers ganged up on Craig. I feel like in a playful way. And that probably like makes Craig feel good that he's like accepted. But I could also see Craig crying every night that like everyone was ganging up on him, even in a joke way. But West and Jesse arrive first. And of all the rooms to pick, they pick the room that has 2 beds. That is weird. So they were like, should we do this one because it has its own bathroom? Or should we have 2 separate rooms and we have to like walk to the bathroom? I don't know, because out of everyone in the house, I feel like they'll be the ones hooking up with girls. So why would you want a roommate? I don't know. I don't really know where their head's at. But West is saying he saw Ciara the day after the reunion because immediately our brains are thinking that too. How are West and Ciara going to act? There's just like a lot of tension that's going to be happening in the house. And he said they went out to a bar the day after the reunion and she's just like, I can't believe you had nothing to say at the reunion, which he really didn't. He had nothing to say. I think what happened is he let her on a lot when they got out of the house. And I think when the cameras went down, they did end up sleeping together because that's basically what she said. Because I think she wanted to hold off the whole summer to see if he still even wanted to talk to her when the camera wasn't there. And he appeared like he wanted to. They sleep together and then it's like, oh, just kidding. I don't like you. I thought they were going to be a perfect match. So now that he's done that to Ciara, I don't like West anymore. And maybe I'm going to like Jesse Solomon better this summer. So he's like, I didn't know what to do. Like, how do you break up with somebody? But it's like, you really weren't boyfriend or girlfriend. But it's like, well, then why'd you break up with her? I don't know. It's very weird. I think like what they were also hinting at the reunion is he got a little taste of like, I'm on TV and thinks he's like so cool, which I see as TikTok. He does think he's so cool. He like is ugly. He's not attractive. I'm sorry to anyone out there listening that thinks he's attractive. He's not. That's the consensus. And I just think he thought he's just too cool for school. You're never going to be too cool for Ciara because not only was she on TV before you, so she doesn't care that you're on TV. She is a model. She is a model. Like, so bye-bye. But we got 2 young hoes entering that are new. Lexi and Bailee. So then when I was like looking at the promo pictures and then when I was looking at, they were all at like a premiere party. I was like, where's that girl Bailee? I don't think she's a cast member. So I think she's like a friend of, but I think that's weird. They're bringing a friend of for the new girl and acting like they're 2 new girls. I thought that was weird because then like I was looking at the pictures and I'm like, okay, well there's that Lexi girl, but where's Bailee? So that's weird. And then we're going to get a new guy. He didn't come yet. I already feel like I'm not going to like him. It's hard to bring new people in every single summer. I mean, last summer we had West, Jesse, and Gabby. And then the summer before that, we had like that dud, like Chris that ate all that ground chicken or whatever. And then we had a dud guy before that too. And then before that, we had Luke and Andrea were new. And I mean, I liked them. But I feel like those 2 duds kind of set me off for like, no, we're not going to get good people. They seem okay. Obviously, like I said, we're not even, I guess, going to see that other girl because she's just like a friend of, which is kind of weird. Lexi seems a little like, so I feel like that's going to get on my nerves a little bit. But obviously, they're having the two new ones come while Jesse and West are there, I feel like alone because they're both single, ready to mingle. I'm also wondering like the age gap because then obviously the guys were like, "Oh, how old are you girls?" And Lexi said she was 26, and I think the Bailee girl is 26 as well. And then West was like, "Oh, I'm 29," which I didn't realize he was that young. I knew he wasn't as old as like Paige. I mean, they're really like not that much far apart, but I did think he was like 30 or 31. I thought he was the same age as Paige. And then Jessie said he's 31. And she's like, oh. So already I'm thinking like, wow, these girls are like real young. And then you got everyone else kind of like in their 30s. And then you got Lindsay and Carl and Kyle's the old man of the house because he's like, what? He's like 41 or something. I feel like he's like the situation. He's just like the old one. But I am wondering how it's going to go just having two new youngins and just like girl group in general. Cause I feel like the girls are already kind of like have their years on the belt together. And I'm wondering how two new girls that are so much younger are going to kind of fit in. But they're trying to convince us that Lexi and Amanda are friends and that her and Bailee have mutual friends. That's a no, because Amanda basically almost was like, yeah, Lexi's my friend. I met her at an event. Well, then she's not your friend. Like, it's getting hard at this point in time when these people have been on the show for so long. So they're kind of like celebrities. No one's really your friend. They're probably trying to talk to you so they could get on the show because they know there's new people on the show every year. But also, I don't see Amanda just hanging out with either of them. I just don't. But then Ciara and Paige arrive and we're all getting hugs. Oh, so Kyle and Amanda arrived before them too. And then Wes said, let me go last to like hug Ciara. Well, he doesn't have to worry about the hug because Ciara is not even going in for a hug. She gave him like a firm pat on the shoulder because she said in the car to Paige that she's going to put her balls on the table, basically saying she's going to show him what's up, that she doesn't care. She's going to show up in that skirt, half naked, and look good and be like, I am the model that I am. I was just on Traders. You're a loser. Yeah, and she was talking to Paige about being on Traders. So I kind of liked that fourth wall breaking. But then Ciara said to the girls that she was mad about the article that West did about her. So it's like in the New York Times, which is like so weird. I'm like, why is West talking to the New York Times? And I guess he like divulged all this deep information saying he didn't know like how to talk to Ciara and blah, 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 blah. Well, why didn't you say it at the reunion? He really didn't say anything at the reunion. And that was very annoying. So then Lindsay and Gabby arrive. So she has not told anyone she's pregnant yet, except obviously Gabby. But immediately I can see with my eyes, like if I was in this house, I would have already assumed she's pregnant because she's wearing like a baggy blouse and her cheeks and face are definitely more full than what Lindsay usually looks like, which for me, when I was pregnant, like my face looked fat. That was just like a thing, especially towards the end. So I'm like, I wonder if like people kind of knew just by looking at her when she walked in, but maybe not. So they all go to pick their rooms. And Jesse is just chit-chatting with Paige and Ciara, which I like this, about Lexi. And he's like, she's a little ditzy, right? So if I'm watching this back, I'd be like, oh, wow. Like, if you want to date me or even at least hook up with me, I would not want you to think I'm ditzy. But she is ditzy. I mean, he's not wrong. And you know what? Now when I'm looking at like some of the promo pictures of her and then like at the premiere the other night, she kind of reminds me of Lala, the way she dresses, like the long legs, skinny, and she's just like half naked. And I'm like, girl, like I get we're all like fashionable on the show, but like she's just kind of like slutty half naked. And for the promo pictures, I'm like, why are you wearing what she's wearing? Everyone Google the Summer House like promo picture for this year, and you're like, oh my God. And that reminded me of like Lala. Just look at it. Tell me right on the socials if you agree with me. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'll post it too. So I kind of wish Paige was like single this summer to see if she would have hooked up with Jesse. You know what I mean? Because I just feel like last summer when he was really like coming in hot and saying he like loved Paige and like touching her leg and stuff, it would have been interesting to see coming back for another summer and with a new, even younger girl, if he still would have picked Paige if Paige was single. But Paige is like, everything we've talked about in this room, make sure you go tell your friends, which I love that. Lindsay is talking to Gabby in her room about how she's going to announce like the pregnancy. Carl is currently not here yet because he thought it would soften the blow if he came the next day. I don't really know how much of a difference that's going to make because it's not like they're just here for the weekend. So he's like, oh, I'll just be there one less day and to have less time. You're literally going to be there all summer sharing a house with your ex-fiance who you're now going to find out is pregnant. So I really don't think coming a day later for the whole entire summer is going to make much of a difference. It's also a little even weirder because then you'll have to come and everyone will have to catch you up with what's happening. But I also think the producers did that on purpose. Like, don't come the first time. So, as I said before, that Lexi kind of looks like very promiscuous. They're getting ready for a hibachi night in the backyard that Amanda has organized. And she literally looks like a stripper. She doesn't look like they're just sitting in the backyard. And I get they all are dressing up. Like sometimes they don't leave the house, but they do dress up. But Amanda is wearing like a muumuu. And Lexi, it looks like she's going to be dancing up on the pole. And I guess this is the difference between being single and married and being younger. Like Amanda just doesn't give an F kind of what she looks like. I mean, I'm not saying her thing isn't cute, her little dress, but I feel like Amanda's style is more baggy. So they placed the person that has like the baggiest clothing next to like the least amount of clothing. So that was just funny. But Gabby is kind of leading everyone to the living room to assist Lindsay with the pregnancy announcement before they do the hibachi. And West was asking Lindsay quietly if she's like having a drink. He's like, do you have a drink? And she's like, yeah. So she had like a little wine just to like not, get anyone thinking anything before she said anything. That's why she wants to announce it right away. And he's like, yeah, I saw the pregnancy rumors, but like I figured they weren't true. And I'm like, oh my God, Lindsay was probably like dying, like, oh no, I'm actually pregnant. So then she goes through like a 10-minute speech because they were time stamping it, which was so funny, of her timeline of men the past 8 years that she's been on the show. And she's having the hibachi guys held up and waiting outside. But then at the end, she's like, but it led me to where I am now and I'm pregnant. And then everyone's like, I knew it. And then Jesse is like, so she holds up this giant ultrasound picture. Jesse is just like mad almost. Like he's not mad looking, but he's not saying anything. He's not like hugging her. And he's like, oh, there's a pregnant lady here. That's weird. Like in his confessional, because he probably thinks it's going to like totally damper the whole summer. And then he's like, I wonder how Carl will feel. So that is a valid point that Jesse is just maybe concerned also how Carl is going to deal with all this. Even though Carl did break up with Lindsay, it's still almost a hard feeling knowing that somebody moved on that quickly and not just moved on, like she's going to be stuck with this new guy for life. So side note, they are not broken up. And I will get into that at the end because she was on Watch What Happens Live. So all our speculations last week and rumor spreading that we were doing, totally false. But then they go out to the hibachi dinner, aka Jesse and Lexi's like private date over there because West has definitely been replaced because West said to Kyle, I feel like they're on a date. They were just almost like sitting alone. Like they were all attached to the table, but they were like two and then everyone else was like talking amongst themselves. But he was just kind of getting to know her more. And I just think it's like sometimes inevitable that these people are going to hook up in the house, but then it just always turns messy because it's like, this girl may be back next summer. Are you going to hook up with her again? Or is it like you're not going to, and then it's going to be weird? Because now that's what we're getting into with West and Sierra. So sometimes it's just better if you don't shit where you eat, as I feel like some of them are saying. But then everyone is trying to do like a timeline math in their brain of Carl and Lindsay's breakup and then Lindsay getting with this guy and then getting pregnant. So Kyle is saying, oh, she got pregnant a month after her and Carl broke up, but that is not true. It's probably more like 3 or 4. I don't know though. He may be right because she was pregnant at the reunion. So she was dumping out the champagne in her bottle and putting like sparkling cider. She was really committing to not telling anyone. So, and you got to remember, we're actually pregnant for like a month before we even know, because of obviously the sign is you miss your period. So as soon as you miss that, you take a pregnancy test and you're like, oh, I'm pregnant. So technically you have been pregnant for like 4 weeks because it was when you last ovulated, whatever. So it's like very complicated to do the math, as we're all seeing, because they're all trying to do it and figure out the time that has passed. And the time that has passed is not very long. I will say Lindsay basically started dating this guy and then immediately got pregnant. So then West is like, what's the baby's last name? Like, and then Paige is like, Hubbard. Why would you ask that question? Like, obviously we know she didn't go the Lala route. Like, she's not getting a sperm donor. Like, there is a guy. So I think West was trying to dig the info. Like, is this like a one night stand dude? Or is this like your boyfriend? Like, are you going to tell us who the father is of this baby? Or do we have to get like Maury Povich to sit at the hibachi dinner to be like, and the father is, what if it was Carl? Carl. That would be a funny, like, Maury thing. Oh, but I mean, it does seem a little soon. I'm really happy for Lindsay because that's really all she wanted, and she was getting older, but I hope she didn't just like rush into doing that because she thought she was running out of time. But we don't really know who her man is. Like, we still don't know till this day. He's like a doctor. He's like very private. And I could tell everyone is happy for Lindsay though, but just a little confused and shocked, which is totally understandable. So then Jesse asked Lexi if she would describe herself as ditzy. It's like, I'm pretty sure she doesn't find herself ditzy. So the fact that you are asking that, and what if she would have been like, yeah, I think I'm so stupid. Like, it's like, what? I think she was a little offended by that, which she did let him know. But then he said he likes that. He said when he gets to know somebody, he kind of like toes the line with like how far he can go. And then once he's like found out the boundary, he steps back. I mean, I don't really know why he would ask that. I would forever be offended by that, but you do you. So Gabby slept out the first night. And I was like, oh my God, Gabby, you're not even going to sleep in your assigned bed the first night? I was like, okay. So the guys went out. Bailee and Lexi stayed back, which I was kind of surprised by because we knew everyone else, like Sierra, Paige, Amanda, we're not going to go out. And Lindsay's like pregnant now. So she's probably like, I'm not going to a club. Like, obviously, she'll do the outings in the summer when they go and it's more like daytime or like dinner. But like, I don't think we're going to be seeing Lindsay at a club. And she did say, I thought I was going to have like a hot hub summer, but like, guess I'm having a different kind of summer. And it's true. But I'm curious to see how it's going to work because now that the baby is here, I think it would be interesting to still have Lindsay on the show and like maybe not come every single weekend or like bring the baby. I don't know. I mean, I like the OGs better than getting the new people all the time. Like, I'm way more invested seeing what Lindsay's doing with her life, even if she has to bring a baby along, than like seeing if Lexi's going to hook up with Jesse. I mean, I like her to be there, but if I had to definitively pick somebody to stay, I like the OGs. I want to see all of them because I've been with them for so long. But the guys come back all like 5-minute time spans different. Like, Kyle's thinking he's like coming back so responsible, coming back at 2 a.m. He's like, I left early. Gets into bed like butt naked and drunk with Amanda. He is like, I'm wondering what's going to just happen with Amanda and Kyle this summer. Every summer we see them fight all the time. I literally can't even believe they're still together. And he's going to go on his like DJing journey. And you could tell that he already kind of is because he like brought all this DJ junk for like the house and like before they go out. So it's just like now we see Lindsay having a baby. They're actually married. Are they going to have a baby? Amanda never goes out with him at night. He goes out and usually stays out the latest and always comes back blacked out. And it's like, it's fine that you go out, but like He is always the most drunk. And it's like getting a little concerning now at this point and stage in life because he's just getting older. And it's like, what are you doing? But then Jesse and West arise together because they are sharing their room. And he is already looking up Lexi and stalking her Instagram. I mean,
I got a stage 5 clinger. I don't know, I need more time. Did you hear what I just said to you? Stage 5 virgin clinger.
I mean, it's a little alarming that he's this clingy right away. And it's actually kind of funny to see him be this clingy right away. But it's just funny when a guy is more clingy. So it's very interesting. He's just really hitching his wagon to her already. But when the girls had stayed back, Paige was just kind of saying how she was like not ready for marriage and babies yet. And then she's like, they're showing like her talking to Lindsay like 6 years ago, I guess, or like 5 years ago. And she's like, yeah, by the time I'm 30, like I think I'll be married and have like a baby. And Lindsay's like, oh, because now Paige is like fast forward 31. And she's like, yeah, I mean, I used to go in a tanning bed too, but things change. And I'm like, it is true. Paige can think that. Like, we all, of course, earlier in years, like, or be like, oh, I want to grow up and be this, or I want to do that. And then we grow up and we literally don't do that at all. Or some people think, oh, I'm never going to quit working and have kids. And then they have kids and they don't want to go back to work because they want to stay home with their kids. So it's like, she's just switching. And I think Paige still wants to get married and she still wants to have a family. It's just she's 31. She's really got a lot of opportunities that are right here, right now, that may not be 5 years from now. So she's kind of got to take advantage of that. And the more I see her and Craig talk about it, like on Southern Charm, so now we'll get her talking about it on Summerhouse, which I'm excited for. She's not saying she never wants those things. She just doesn't want them right this second. And if he wants them right this second, then I guess it's like, we're done. If it's like a game changer. Because I understand why Craig does want these things, but it's like, Craig, you could be older and have kids. Guys can be older, and it's not like he's like decrepit and have ailments or something. My husband's 15 years older than me. He had kids with me. So it's like he's an older dad. It's possible. It's more concerning about the woman because we're carrying the children, how our body is. Like, we can't be 50, even though with Janet Jackson, there's just like rare, weird people that can do that. But Paige could have kids at 35 or 36. So it's like, just because she's not doing it at 31 and she maybe said she wanted that like 6 years ago, even way before she met Craig, like she said, she used to go in tanning beds, as did I. I would never go in a tanning bed now. You live and you learn. And yeah, I think it's just, she's just not ready for that yet because she's really like checking a lot of things off. And maybe she also just isn't ready to do it with Craig because he's also pressuring her so much. But when they have all arise, they go swimming, and we see Lindsay's cute little baby bump in the bathing suit. And the stage 5 clinger, Jesse, is like, oh my God, doesn't Lexi look so pretty? He's like, I just love her. He's coming in real hot. But as we remember, he kind of did that with Paige. So maybe this is just like his thing. He's just like gets obsessive. But then I'm wondering, is he going to stay obsessed? That's what I mean. Are you going to get what you want? And then it's like, meh, on to the next one. And I think that's how West and him are, which is why we title them F-Boys. Carl arrives and he is talking to the producers. He just doesn't know how to handle this. They're like, no, we get it. Like, how do you tell someone this? And then he said, do you know how many texts I've gotten in the last 24 hours? And he's referring to Lindsay announcing her pregnancy. So not only did she tell the cast that night, she had to wait to then post any of her like sponsored things. So she did one for Clear Blue, as did Madison. So she had to wait. So she wanted to tell them. Then obviously she could post and tell the whole world. So Carl is seeing it. He doesn't have to wait to come into the house. He's seeing it on Instagram, her sponsored ad from Clear Blue that she is pregnant. And he's like, do you know how many texts I've gotten? Because everyone thinks it's crazy that, we break up. And now she's pregnant, which I do agree. It's a little fast. But I'm sure she will say to Carl, you don't have the right to say it's too fast because you broke up with me. And it's true. It's very true. I think it's just later. So we get the the preview for the whole season, not mid-season. I'm sorry. We get the preview for the whole season. And you see Carl telling Paige and some other people, like, I haven't slept with anyone for a whole year. So he hasn't done anything. So even though he's the one that did the breaking up, he just couldn't move on that fast. Whereas we got Lindsay like full blown having a family with somebody. So I think he's just trying to instill that in people's brain. Like, don't you think this is weird? Which we do, Carl, but you are going to have to live with it because you did break up with her. Then the best part, the end of the preview for the season, we flash to 6 months afterward. Cameras pick back up for the Paige and Craig fallout. So they're going to do this on Southern Charm. This is just a trend since Scandival, and I'm loving it. Keep doing it with literally every single show because we got it on Beverly Hills with Kyle and Maurizio. I just love it. It's because if you think about it, how wild is that? 6 months passed by since they filmed Summerhouse. So it's like, yes, please tell us what's happening now in these people's lives. Do quick editing and just fit it in. So Paige Manza and Lindsay are talking, and Paige says she's just upset that Craig isn't like defending her for the cheating stuff. And she said, because you were texting 2 bitches while we were together. And I was like, Craigie, like, what is she talking about? So I'm just going to play the little clip. I just recorded a little bit of it, but this is her telling them.
What are you talking about? Like, I feel like you're so betraying me right now. You're going to let people say that I'm a cheater? I caught you texting 2 bitches in the course of our relationship. Now you're dead to me.
Now you're dead to me. All the while Lindsay is pumping, like hands-free breast pump. I had that too. It was great. So she had, the hands-free to like throw them up, be like, what's going on? It's pumping that milk out. Multitasking, gossiping, and feeding the baby. I love to see it. But I think that my guess would be, so we know that when Paige and Craig first got together, he was like texting Kristen Cavallari. Mind-blowing as well. I don't think that's one of the two. Maybe it is one of the two, but obviously there was another one after that because Paige and him weren't really like official boyfriend and girlfriend. She was still kind of like seeing Andrea, whatever. Like, I feel like it was like, oh, we're hooking up, we're dating. And then they probably had the it's just you and me conversation. So I think that Craig would get drunk and text, obviously, these 2 bitches. And that's why he had to stop the drinking. Because Paige was probably like, you do this when you're drunk. You would never do it when you're sober. It's either alcohol and you could text people, or it's me. So I think that's what made him stop drinking. Not because he needs to take photo shoots for his pillows and he needs to represent his brand. I think it was Craigie was getting a little like loose when he was hitting the bottle and sexting. Maybe he was sexting Molly. I don't know. That's going to be interesting. So now we know why. This is why Paige was saying like last week, I can't wait for Wednesday, because she couldn't wait to have the world see that, because the world thus far has been like, poor Craig, and we're all painting the narrative that Paige has had a secret relationship with this dude and the timeline of that. I don't think she was cheating on Craig with this dude. It's just she moved on pretty fast with another. Definitely seems like they're dating her boyfriend, even though everyone would like to say she's single. She's holding hands with him at the Super Bowl. Like, she was in Miami with him. They were at the Eagles game. Like, they're not just going down the street getting a bagel. She's jet setting around with him, but I think it's her boyfriend, which is fine. She's allowed to have one. And I don't think there was overlap. I think mentally Paige had checked out of the relationship for a little while. No cheating, just like checked out. So then once she did break up with Craig, it was like a little easier to have like a new flame 2 months later. I don't know. I can't wait to see the battle between it's like Southern Charm versus Summerhouse like cast, because obviously the casts are going to have Craig's back and the friends. Ciara and Lindsay were on Watch What Happens Live, so they were kind of talking about that. Lindsay said she doesn't like how Craig came on and was like a crying, woe is me type thing. And I mean, all the girls are Team Paige, and I love to see it. And I will love to see more insight because Paige did break down in the preview and say, you know, if this happens, Craig and I will break up and it won't be good. And I feel like I'll lose everything. I think he was just literally every time they saw each other, like he's like, chicken, when are we gonna like get married and have a baby? And it's like, stop asking every day. Like she's already told you. And if you don't like that answer, I think Craig should have broken up with Paige. Why are you waiting around asking her the same shit all the time? That's how she feels. She's being honest with you, which you should be thankful that she's being honest and she's not like leading you on. So also on Watch What Happens Live, they were asking, or Andy was asking Lindsay and Ciara, like who they think Paige should date next. And Ciara said she wants to see her date a 180 of Craig. I mean, all the meanwhile, while we are pretty sure that Paige is dating this guy. But obviously they can't say it. I don't know why Paige can't be like, yeah, I'm dating this guy. It's very weird. It's very Kyle Richards, Morgan Wade-esque. Lindsay, the speculation that she was single or broke up with the baby daddy boyfriend, Andy was like, obviously we know that's not true because he's here tonight, but then they don't pan to him. It's because he does not want to be on TV. This could be hard for him to hide under a rock forever, but they are still very much together, which I'm happy about because I was like nervous. I'm like, oh my God, just to be with the baby alone. A single mom who works 2 jobs. But she is not that, thank God. And then what else? Just a little fact because Andy mentioned it on Watch What Happens Live, but I had already seen it hours before and posted it. Teddi Mellencamp underwent emergency surgery to remove tumors from her brain. Very, very sad. Prayers go out to her. Very interesting, gossipy info, though, in the videos on her story. Morgan Wade and Kyle Richards were there in the hospital room with her. So Edwin did later visit. He wasn't in this video, but like Teddi had to shave her head for the surgery. Very sad. So she obviously wanted some friends and support around her. So Kyle was one of them. There wasn't that many people in the room. Like, that's what I mean. Like, there was like probably like 3 or 4 other people. The fact that Morgan Wade was one of them, very interesting, very telling. It's like, Kyle, if she is your girlfriend, just let us know. Dear God, like at this point, we don't even care. We just want you to stop being a liar. You're a liar, Kyle. Goodbye, Kyle. But heart goes out to Teddi and prayers. It's very sad. But I thought overall, first episode of Summerhouse was great. I think this is going to be a great summer. I think we got just enough happiness mixed with drama. I think it's going to be really good. So let's take a little break and then recap Beverly Hills. Need a last minute gift? Look no further than Acred Creative. Discover personalized gifts, distinctive decor, and must-have business essentials. Elevate your space or amplify your brand with their unique creations. Go to acredcreative.com and use my code BRAVOT10 to receive 10% off your order. That's ACRED creative.com and use my code BRAVOT10. And we're back, and we got the ladies still in Augusta, Georgia, and Kyle was going for a run, and she's like, I'm going to kill Sutton, says to Reba, the mom, because she told her the wrong direction to run, and then she was lost, and she was in a cemetery, so I don't know what's happening. But Reba is really tough. But honestly, there just comes to a point where you're not just being like tough, you're just being rude. She's just rude, and I don't like it. She said to Kyle, I know I can be difficult. So the fact that she said that is like speaking volumes. And later when Kyle went upstairs to get her hair curled by Sutton's glam team, obviously, because we know Kyle does not bring Glam Squad anywhere. So this was Sutton's doing. And she told Sutton, your mom just told me she can be difficult. And she's like, she said that. She admitted to that. Sutton's like shocked. But she's just kind of talking to Kyle about her dad more. And Garcelle really takes one for the team and goes to talk to Reba about things with Sutton that Sutton has shared with her. And Reba's like, I don't think that's any of your business. And I'm like, oh my God, she's just not. She's an old lady. She's not going to change her ways, sadly. Sutton has said before, I know she loves me. I just don't think she likes me. And Reba has admitted that her dad, like Reba's father, was tough on her and probably just like not showing a lot of emotion. But like I said, there just comes a time where it's like you're just flat out rude. You don't have to be crying over everything like that emotion, but just be nice at least. So Garcelle thinks that maybe Sutton's mom, Reba, is a little jealous of the relationship that Sutton and the dad had. And maybe she wanted that underlyingly, but instead is pushing Sutton away by the way she acts. So we know that Sutton's father committed suicide, and she is just giving us like more details of this. So she said he was like, medicated on antidepressants, but he always would talk about killing himself. But then he would also drink alcohol with the antidepressants, so that's not good. So they do say if you do that, that gives you the suicidal thoughts. But there was a loaded gun in the house. So I think Sutton holds resentment towards her mom, knowing that there was a loaded gun in the house and the dad was struggling. And she pretty much says that on her confessional. She's like, yeah, I'm a little resentful towards that because they all sit down to brunch and Sutton is telling her mom that she wants to take Kyle and Garcelle to the old house. So that's where it happened back in 2002, December, like right before Christmas. So I think it was the day before Christmas Eve, they said. And the mom is like, oh, I'm not going. And then she's like, you can't go inside. But unbeknownst to her, Sutton asked the owner if they could go inside. So they did go inside. But I think the mom just doesn't want to go in because it's like a lot. Some people don't want to go back to that stuff. But I think Sutton just gets upset with her because the mom just knew and saw how much he was struggling. And just why is there just a loaded gun in the house if someone's talking about killing themselves? So true. So true. But then on a more happier note, Erika's house renovating has begun. And her house is super cute. Like, it just needed a little help, like a little style. But it's definitely like a cute little bachelorette pad. Perfect size for her. And I love those giant lemon trees that she has in the yard. And I think the pool is cute. It's just like, honestly, like she's single, a single adult woman. She doesn't need a big ass house. So not only do you not need it, but you can't afford it, but that's fine because even if you could afford it, you don't need a big house. This house is super cute. I think it's going to turn out great once that guy's done with it. I hope she has like all the ladies over. Because it's not like she lives in a shed. She has a house that they can all fit in and has a backyard and has the like pool house thing that's getting redone. So I could see her maybe having the ladies over for like a lunch. But then Bose is talking to her daughter about having a baby. Now, we have seen this play out on lots of different housewives, midlife crisis times. Remember when Melissa Gorga was like, oh, all the kids are growing up. I may want a baby. And her sister was like, you don't want a baby. So yeah, it's like, no, you don't. And then Jennifer Aiden was like, you can't have a baby. You're so self-centered. You're just obsessed with yourself. I mean, when you have kids already and they're older and you're still with the same guy, I definitely don't know why you would want a late in life baby. Like that is weird. But a little understandable why Bose wants a baby because her husband died when her and the daughter were young. And now she has found the love of her life and he doesn't have any kids and maybe she just wants to have something with him. So I get when people do that. When it's like a different partner, I get that. But she is a little old and very business. So where would the baby go? It's a lot to think about when you get older. And also it was interesting when she met with Erika and Dorit, she's telling her all this out with the cheetah print outfit with the boobies hanging out. She's saying that they never even said, I love you. So you're going to have a baby with him, but you never even said, I love you. I mean, obviously they love each other, but it's just weird. No one's saying, I love you. Very strange. But Sutton shows like her mom, her like clothing line also on the episode. And she's like, I just like want you to like see what I'm doing. And she's like, I need you to say you're proud of me. She's like, well, I am. I don't need to say it. And Sutton's like, no, like I need you to. I mean, she needs to tell her that. It's like when we know we're doing something good, we still need or want people to recognize it. I don't know. It's just we all want and need that. And the fact that her mom's difficult. I mean, she was like being rude to Avi. She's like, no, I don't want that. No, I don't like this ice. Like talking to him like he's such a jerk, like a homeless person on the street. I don't know. It's just Reba. I get it. The tough cookie, the tough Southern lady. But then after a while, it's like, you're just being a bitch. You're just being totally rude. She did agree to come to California, though. She said she's not sleeping in the weird kids' room with the fish tank, though. So I think that was good for Sutton. She's going to come to her fashion show. Sutton needed that, wanted that. So I'm happy for Sutton. They got a little accomplished at this trip. This episode was a little boring, but I will say next week's episode, going to be good. Dorit's going to have a 4th of July party, just the ladies, from what it looks like. I'm like, well, that's really not a 4th of July party then. That's just because she's like, we always have a party every year. It's like, well, where is everybody else? But anyway, she's having a party for them. Her and Sutton get into it at Dorit's house, mind you. And Sutton calls her a bitch. And Dorit's like, don't call me a bitch in my own house, which I agree, don't. And then Beau's sticking up for Dorit, but somebody has to. And it's because everyone's like coddling Sutton. And then Beau's is like, enough with this. Like, everyone needs to coddle her. And Garcelle's like, stop being Dorit's mouthpiece. And Kyle kind of says that, but it's like, but it's okay for you to be Sutton's mouthpiece. Like, thank God Dorit has Beau's, because quite frankly, she'd be drowning in her pool. She might as well be without Beau's there to help. It's just, it's going to be interesting the rest of the season because lines are drawn in the sand. Dorit and Sutton do not like each other. Erika is getting along with everybody. Kyle is still kind of on the outs with Dorit, but was like moving forward. But now I feel like she's going to be more on Sutton's side on this, so it's going to push them back. Garcelle never really liked Dorit, so no love lost. And Beau's is just a straight up soldier to Dorit and only cares and likes Dorit, basically. Like, she's nice to everyone else, but basically only cares about Dorit. Oh, she likes Erika too, but it's because Erika, for once, Erika's getting along with like everybody, except I think there will be I could see her saying something to Sutton like, why would you not take me to Augusta? I'm from there, like with her little sarcastic like laugh. But yeah, all in all, this episode was okay. It just wasn't the best. I think the next one's going to be better. And honestly, I was just foaming at the mouth, just getting ready for Summerhouse. I was more interested in that. So I feel like that's about it because I already actually talked about Kyle being by Teddy's side on the first half when we recapped Summerhouse. And I feel like that's pretty much it. We're going to get Southern Charm on too. We're going to get everyone going to the Bahamas. That's going to be interesting. Maybe I'll just add it to this recap. So, all right, stay tuned. We'll take one more break and then I will recap Southern Charm. We'll just wrap it all up in one episode. All my listeners out there, it's not just the Bravo celebrities that want to look beautiful. We do too. Head on over to Studio One Salon for the most amazing extensions, cut, color, or even just a nice shampoo and blowout. Or when you go out with all your friends to talk about all the latest Bravo tea. Use my code BRAVOT with a stay-at-home mom to enjoy 10% off. And we're back to wrap it up with Southern Charm. I know at the beginning I said I was just going to recap Summerhouse and the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, but I kind of almost forgot that we were going to have Southern Charm basically a day later. So I'm like, we might as well lump it all in. You guys can have your nice Sunday. I hope you're cooking, spending time with family, doing your Sunday reset that usually I say I always do on Monday, but I also can't do it on Monday because all the kids have off of school. Is anybody else like their kid barely went to school the whole month of February? I mean, where we are, there's snow. So we had like some snow days, a snow delay one day. We got like President's Day weekend, just got like a lot of shit. And I'm like, oh my God, get these kids in school. But I think it's really interesting now that we have Summerhouse back on, watching Paige and Craig talk about their relationship from their perspective and or appearing on each other's shows. So we got Craig Page FaceTiming, and then they call in Madison, and they're just talking about how they're all about to adventure to the Bahamas. And Madison asked Paige if she's going to be joining them, and she said no, that she had like 2 photo shoots that she couldn't reschedule. So if we remember last year, Craig actually planned their trip. I think it was in Jamaica, and Paige was supposed to go, and the whole point was so that she could like really bond and spend time with everyone. And she's like, no, I have like work to do. Well, fast forward to now, I feel like even though she's saying she's single, and Lindsay and Cienna are on Watch What Happens Live, and they're like, oh, she's so eligible, like single. She's been jet setting. She went to Philadelphia for an Eagles game. She was in Miami with that guy. Then she was at the Super Bowl in New Orleans. So I feel like that's a lot of time travel. Travel. I said time travel. If we time traveled, will they still be together by this summer? Because I want to know. Because I would kind of like to see a single Page in the Summerhouse house this coming summer, like a couple months from now. It would be very interesting. Her and Cienna could be the new Lindsay and Danielle. It would be very interesting. But I feel like Paige is going to miss out on seeing Shep get dumped in front of all their eyes, because that's what Madison and Craig are saying. Because this whole Cienna thing is like so awkward and weird. It's like he's on the opposite end of the stick that Taylor says later to Rodrigo when they go out to lunch, because it is. It's like he was kind of treating Taylor like, I don't really care about you. And she was the puppy following him around. Now he's like following this girl around, but they don't even live in the same place. I mean, Craig and Paige are bad enough being in Charleston and New York City. This woman lives in the Bahamas. She probably hangs out with Juicy Joe more than she hangs out with Shep. That would have been so funny. I said to my husband, I'm like, oh my God, he should have made an appearance on the show or like pick them up from the airport. But I feel like that doesn't really make sense, because like some of them probably don't even know who the heck he is. I mean, maybe they do just because she's such an OG of Bravo, but that would have been a really funny crossover, I thought. But Shep goes shopping with Molly, and he said he's going to give Cienna some necklace, and he hopes Taylor doesn't roll her eyes, since I guess he gave her like the same type of necklace, and she has one too. And I'm like, oh my God, don't do that. Molly and Shep, I think later in the season, like kiss. If from what we saw in the trailer was accurate, I could see them together. I mean, way better than her chasing after Whitney, because A, Whitney's ugly. B, I think he's too old for her. And C, the cupcake comment, just no bye. Get lost, Whitney, in your mom's house. But then Vanita visits JT to hear the drama about JT being on this trip. So we also see in previews that JT's going to have a conversation with Craig, and it's kind of awkward because it's in front of Madison. I'm still thinking, I think JT is a little shit stirrer. He's like a Bryn. But then Craig is also kind of like a Bryn, because I think he twists people's words. So I think JT was like running his mouth, and then Craig manipulated and twisted the words and repeated it back to Madison for a little drama. That's why Craigie could be like the Real Housewives of Charleston. But he's just afraid kind of to be on the trip with everybody and all the allegations of Madison and him. But I loved when Madison and JT met for coffee, and she's like, I don't know why you would make up me having an affair with you. Have you seen my husband? It's like, yeah, no, nobody thinks Madison is having an affair with JT. I don't even think JT thinks Madison is having an affair with her. It is interesting, though. I do believe him in the sense that Brett called and like asked about the trip. And that would be weird if he was kind of like, oh, well, why were you and Madison alone? It's like, well, why would you be concerned about Madison being alone with JT? Like, he's a no for Madison for sure. So I think there's some truth to that story. I just think it's like very twisted and manipulated, as we see on these Bravo shows. But then Austin meets Rodrigo for lunch. He said since they're going to the Bahamas, he can't indulge in a beer that he normally orders. I feel like he's having a skinny spicy margarita. But then my husband's like, does he know that's like Mexico, not the Bahamas? And I'm like, yeah, maybe he's just talking about tequila, keep him skinny for the trip. Because yes, tequila and the Bahamas, no, that's more like, oh, I should order rum. We're going to the Bahamas. But they're just talking about when Rodrigo met up with Taylor, because they're all going to be on this trip basically for Shep and this new lady. And he's like, what do you think like Taylor thinks of all this? And Taylor's like on Cienna's side. She's on anybody's side but Shep's. So she's like, I don't like that, like, he's not like treating her right and blah, 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 blah. And I feel like Taylor doesn't even like know anything about the relationship, because if she did, she would see and realize that Cienna's the one kind of leading Shep on and making him look like a desperate man. But she definitely has pent up anger. And Austin thinks that this is the point in when a relationship's over, you're just like so mad by the other person. Like, now we see that in Paige and Craig, to kick it to current day. They're like calling each other chicken on this FaceTime in this episode and love each other, but now hate each other, unfollowing each other. All the friends hate each other. All the friends are unfollowing. It's like show versus show. We could have like the challenge, like MTV. Could be like Summerhouse versus Southern Charm, because it's just a dog-eat-dog world right now for them. No one is happy with each other. Everyone's mad. It's like you're sad and then you're mad. So I don't even know if Paige ever really went through the sad phase, because also she's the one that did the breaking up with. But I think Craig went through the like sad, but now he's just like mad, especially when he sees pictures of her holding hands with some dude. It's kind of like a Lindsay Carl situation if you think about it. Like, he's still literally sad, you can tell, even though he's the one that broke up with Lindsay. And then he arrives at the house and she's freaking pregnant and totally moved on. And he's like, I haven't even like kissed anyone. So it's just, everyone deals with all of this stuff different, but I feel like Taylor is definitely in the mad phase still. But also it's a little awkward. She's this mad still at Shep because she's literally dating Gaston. And I'm wondering why Gaston never comes to any of these trips or anything. Maybe it's because he's at work or he's on that other show, but I feel like they're not filming at the same time. I mean, maybe they are. That would be a little strange, but maybe they refuse to do crossovers, even though crossovers work. I mean, look, we're going to get a couple VPR people on the Valley, and the Valley is basically started with VPR alum. So I don't know. Maybe they don't want crossovers at all on this show. They just want to keep it two different things. But I just do feel like Taylor is a little too upset still with Shep, and I wonder how Gaston feels about that, because it's almost like, if you're this bothered and irritated, is it because you still have feelings for him? I don't know if she necessarily wishes she was still with Shep, but I think she still has feelings and is almost like, you're so obsessed with Cienna. Why weren't you this obsessed with me? I do really feel like that's in the back of her brain, like how she feels. But she's FaceTiming her mom, and she said she's just a little nervous about the trip, but she's getting along a lot better with the girls, because also I was thinking like, oh my God, her and Sally like had it out at JT's little event place, where Shep was basically saying Gaston is mid to average looks. That was so funny. And Taylor, I think, is just underlyingly mad about that as well. But we were thinking she was going to go on the trip and still have like, you know, some issues with Sally. But then they had like a girls' night that we didn't see. So they show like a flashback. I wish they did actually show this in more length on the show, because it looked pretty fun and wild. So they're just at like a bar, and they were all like taking shots and drinking and dancing. And then Taylor was doing like a handstand, and her dress went up. So then her thong was out, and everyone's like, Taylor. And then Sally got on the ground and did the worm. I hope she washed her hands after, because like bar floor, ew. But very impressive. She went from like standing up to like fully doing the worm on the floor. And I was like, yeah, why couldn't you have carved out like 10 minutes to show it this? Like, honestly, at this point, no one wants to see JT and Venita talking anymore. So carve out their portion and show us Taylor doing a handstand and Sally doing the worm in public. I'd way rather see that. Honestly, I'd rather see paint dry than JT and Venita talk at this point, because also it's sad that Venita is still even talking to JT in private. It's probably a mandatory requirement that the producers are giving her, because he told her, oh, I kind of like have a girlfriend, even though he's been like totally flirting with her. And we see in the trailer for episodes to come that he's going to like invite her in his hotel room alone. And I think this is the last we're going to see in Venita. And you know what? I'm perfectly fine with it. I could literally care less. Taylor's getting a little more interesting. I did say I feel like we're not going to see Taylor anymore, but I think her and the Shep this episode really like turned the page a little because we see she's bonding with the girls more and she's going to have it out with Shep a little more. So it's like, all right, girl, you're back in. We tagged you back in. Leva didn't even come. So it's like, we're never seeing her again, I'm sure, after we have this reunion, which they filmed the reunion. So I'm wondering how that went also. And I'm wondering if we got JT back because he does quit. We don't know when because he's still on the show right now, but he does quit and he doesn't finish his confessionals. So I don't know if he finished the show, but he just didn't finish the confessionals. But I have a feeling he's going to make an appearance at the reunion. I hope so too, because I think that's very cowardly. It's very Lisa Vanderpump back in the day to quit. But also you have a contract. I feel like they're not going to give him his money. And I'm pretty sure I have read and heard that before, that if you don't show up to everything and finish it out, you don't get paid. And I don't think he would want to like forego that. But Taylor wraps up the phone conversation by getting asphyxiated from her dog's farts. And her mom's like, I'm so glad I'm not there. Goodbye. Everyone is packing for the trip. Vanita calls Madison and is kind of trying to be like, yeah, I mean, like JT has two sides to him. And Madison's basically like, no, bye. So then everyone is at the airport. They're getting ready. Vanita just isn't there and she misses the flight. I mean, how dumb are you? And I'm assuming Bravo is paying for this. I always go back and forth with some of this stuff because sometimes the housewives that used to be on the show kind of come forward and are like, oh, Bravo doesn't pay for shit and blah, 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 blah. But then I'm like, I find it hard to believe that all of these people pay for everything all season, because wouldn't you be like, well, if you're not going to pay for this dinner, I'm not going to go to dinner with this person. I mean, and especially the younger shows, like the young people, they don't have the money at first. So it's like, you have to be paying for this. I think they get like a budget. And then if they want to exceed the budget, that's what I've heard before, that then they cover it themselves. Like Bravo pays for this flight. But if you want to ride in like first class or if you want to take a private jet, you need to cover that difference, which is why the Beverly Hills ladies, I feel like, are always going on the private jets because they're probably like, we're so rich, we'll just cover it. Don't worry, Andy. But Vanita misses the flight. JT is coming later. I don't know why he didn't come with everybody. But when they land, Shep is calling Cienna and she's literally not answering. I mean, he's calling like again and again, and you can only use the bad reception excuse like maybe one time and it's ringing. So this is just, I mean, I feel so bad for him because I can't believe that he's throwing himself like this at a girl. It's just, it's painful. And she finally does answer. But like in the confessionals, Austin and Craig are like, long distance, you haven't seen each other in like 2.5 months. I would be waiting at the airport for you. And it's true. It's like, girl, no offense. Like, what are you up to right now? What are you doing? Why are you so busy that you can't be at the airport? It's like she doesn't like him, but then it's like, you can tell she doesn't really like care about being on TV, because when she is on the camera, it's not like she's like, oh, look at me. So it's like, if you don't like him and aren't really doing this to like get on reality TV, I don't know why you're wasting your time. And wouldn't you look at this guy that's like throwing himself at you and feel a little bad? I don't know. But she finally answers and she's like, oh, I'll try to stop by later. And it's like, oh, okay, thanks so much. Thank you. So they all arrive at the hotel. They're staying at the Bahamas. So this is where Juicy Joe does always take the daughters when they come visit. And that's why I feel like they probably cited him here. And/or Juicy Joe had to hunt down a Bravo camera and be like, hey, you want to get me back on TV? I mean, what are you going to do about it? I'm stuck here. Tree is at home with my daughters and they visit all the time, but maybe send over some cameras. I mean, what are you going to do? You can follow us around. I think that would be TV gold if they did a couple episodes, especially like if we're going to keep Teresa on the Housewives, we need to take a trip to the Bahamas. That should be the trip. I think if Teresa and Melissa were in a good place, maybe that would have been the trip. I don't know, but somehow, some way, we need Juicy Joe back in front of a Bravo camera. Well, actually, fun fact, Gia, Giudice, Ariana, like Bierman, all those like littles are doing a show. and it's going to come out. I'm not sure. I bet it's going to come out in the summer because they're like still filming it right now. So what if they took a trip to the Bahamas? That would be good. Just somebody needs to take a trip to the Bahamas that's relevant, because I know Southern Charm's there right now, but somebody that's relevant and knows Juicy Joe needs to take a trip to the Bahamas and go out there. If anything, let's get Andy Cohen out there just with Juicy Joe. That could be like an Oprah special. Like he could just go out and they could just do like an interview. That would be funny. But so they arrive at the hotel, amazing suites. So the girls are all in a suite, and Vanita will be arriving because she missed the flight. So they need to save a room for her. So they're all sorting it out. They're like, oh, good. Everyone's happy, beautiful. They're like at the highest point of the hotel, I feel like. Amazing view. And then the guys have a presidential suite, which is literally just as nice. And Craig is throwing a toddler tantrum because he has to share a room at age 36. I mean, you're not sharing a bed. And if it's that big of a deal, get a rollaway cot and put it in the living room. Or I bet the living room, since it's a presidential suite, the couch pulls out and it's a bed. I mean, like, sometimes I understand when they throw the fits because he's 36 years old. This is a vacation-ish. I get it. And you don't want to share a room. You maybe want some private time. But first of all, you live at home alone and you don't have kids. So you have private time very often. It's not like a Rebecca Minkoff situation where she's like, Bryn, you don't have kids or a husband. You need a single room. I have husband and 4 kids. I need alone time, which I get it. I need alone time. I have 2 kids and a husband. Like, we want alone time if we are on a trip. But also, if this was me, I wouldn't care if I was sharing a room with like one of my friends, as long as maybe I could have my own bed at this juncture in my life. So, Craig, you're not going to have to spoon Austin. You're going to get your own bed, but you do have to share a room with them. And I feel like, who cares? I don't know. It's like, what are you going to be doing in the room? It's not like Paige is there, because I do get that too. If like the couples are there, you don't want to share a room. This isn't Jersey Shore style where we're all smushing in one room and people are seeing people naked. No. But Craig is just throwing a shit fit. And Austin was like, oh my God, I'm getting anxiety over Craig. I can't. And him and Rodrigo are like whispering, and Rodrigo's like, I don't understand why he does this. And Austin's like, he always does this. Possibly this is why Paige broke up with him. Because if I was watching my boyfriend, whom is older than me, throwing a toddler tantrum like this, I'd be like, you are so embarrassing. Like, and also it's like Shep's having a panic attack in the other room because he's literally probably going to get broken up with or embarrassed on national television. So it's like, shut up that you have to share a room in this giant suite, because then he's like, we all have our own money. Like, we can get our own room. Or he said like, we all paid for this. I was like thinking like, no, you didn't, Craig. Like, and if anything, Shep paid for it, I feel like, because it's like his trip. But no, at the end of the day, I think Bravo, NBC is getting the bill. He's like, Craig, like, we're all going to stay in the suite. It'll be fun. Don't leave. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like if I was on a bachelorette party right now, I'm sharing a room with somebody. And that's fine, because it's like, I'd rather do that than get FOMO and be in my own room and miss out. It's like, it's fun to do this. I mean, Craig, you're not moving in for the rest of your life and sharing a bedroom with Austin. It's like probably a 4-night situation. Honestly, probably 3 nights. Honestly, I feel like they do not go on these trips long because it is not really a vacation. It is work. And they do have to get back to actual work that they're doing. So it's like, just take a chill pill. But see, he's probably panicking because he doesn't, hit the bottle hard anymore. So it's not like he's going to be blacked out and just roll into bed. He's going to soberly go to bed with his friend. But like I said, separate beds, get over it. So Shep is just so nervous about Cienna coming, but they all go down to the pool, get some lunch. He raises a toast and he's like, just want to thank everybody for coming. And Cienna did a lot of hard work organizing this. And Taylor goes, Santa? And he's like, no, Cienna. And then Madison goes, she might as well be Santa because we never see her. Dead. I love the Madison and Taylor subtle shit talking at the lunch table. It's so funny. Then Molly and Sally are laughing too at the joke. So I feel like they can all laugh and bond over the sadness and desperateness of Shep. So I like that for the girls' sake. But then Shep and Taylor are kind of low-key getting into it at lunch. And Taylor's like, how long have you been together? Like, she's asking nice questions, but in a hostile way. And he's like, oh, not that long, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, how long have you said I love you? When did you say I love you? And were you sober? And he was like, oh, like when we were in Palm Beach. And she's like, oh. And you could just tell she's so like mad. It's almost like she's protecting Cienna because she's been hurt and burned by Shep, but she doesn't even know Cienna. So it's like every girl for their own at this point, Taylor. Like, don't ruin your relationship. Because if I was Gaston, I'd be watching this and be like, you are so jealous. It's very obvious. She's like, I just don't want you to lead her on. And then no, Austin and Craig are like, it's like literally the opposite, Taylor. Like, she is leading Shep on. And I agree. I mean, anyone with eyes can see that. Now, she doesn't spend intimate time with Shep and doesn't see. So maybe she's just assuming and comparing her relationship that he's doing that to Cienna, aka Santa. Because also, why are we thanking Cienna for organizing this trip? Like, what is she doing? She's not even there right now. And it's like, would she tell you where to stay? Like, everyone knows that the Bahamas in the Bahamas, and it's like a hot hotel to stay at. So it's like, that was real easy. You know, Bravo booked the rooms, booked the flight. Any activities that are happening is because of Bravo. She's not even there right now. So it's like, what did Cienna do? Just be born in the Bahamas, so now you're visiting her? Like, she did so much work to organize this. She didn't even answer the phone when you were at the airport. Like, and she's not even there right now. So the delusion is real with him for sure. So then they all go back and they're getting ready for dinner, and he's just like literally so nervous. He's like, I put some product in my hair, but then he puts a hat on. So stupid. And he takes the hat off. And then Craigie comes over as the glam squad and is just fluffing the hair back up. And he's like, you just got to like fluff it. Don't put that hat back on. Craig's probably like, listen, it's taken me 3 years, but I got my shit together. I'm gardening. I'm stylish. And it's all because of Paige. So just listen to me. And he's like, no, I don't want my hair to look like that. I don't want it to be fluffed, but I want it to look like it has product in it. It's like, Shep, just listen to Craig, because honestly, we're all picking Craig for the wardrobe. Even Austin. I thought Austin looked really nice. He had his hair fluffed ready with the product. Like, Craig and Austin have good hair. So Shep needs to take notes and be quiet and just listen. I mean, Cienna's 26 and she's a model and she already doesn't like you. So maybe like listen to them. And then they're like, can you like not wear that shirt as well? And he's like, no, I'm going to have her consult and change me when she comes up. Like, it's like, I like to suggest outfits for my husband. Like we all do, especially like I went to school for fashion. I'm still very into fashion. So, you know, that's just a natural thing I feel like we do. But also it's like, if they're telling you to just change into something else before she picks even something else before dinner, listen to them. Like, why do you want to look like a hot mess and can't put an outfit together? And then that won't be fun and attractive for her. It just won't. You're already down in the points. I think just listen to them. Like, Craig's like, just put a t-shirt on and look cool. Like, she is young. So maybe Craig is like, don't look like an old grandpa, even though he just had a polo on, but I didn't like the outfit. And first of all, I'm just going to throw this out there right now. Men in flip-flops. No. My husband wears sandals when we go on the beach or like to a pool. But like if we're going out to dinner, no. I mean, they are going to have dinner probably on the beach. I don't know. I think my husband will wear no shoes over flip-flop. He doesn't own a pair of flip-flops. So seeing Shep with like a polo, well, he used to have a hat on. So that's a no. The polo, fishing pants, as Craig said, and then he has flip-flops, and I'm like, no, I just don't like to see men's toes in flip-flops. It's like, ugh. And then Craig even said, since Paige is in here, I'm breaking her rule and wearing flip-flops. I'm with Paige. maybe another reason why she broke up with you, Craig. Not only did she see you crying and whining about the room situation, but then she sees you putting flip-flops on in this episode. She was done. She was done. But Cienna does arrive. She's these little like cute goodie bags. Very cute. So it shows that she's like cares and is into it a little bit, but also the goodie bags are not for the boys. It's for all the girls. And it's like little beach bags and they have their names kind of woven on them. Very cute. So that gets a point for that. I'm so interested in like the next episode to see her interact with the girls and the group as a whole. But I feel like the guys are being like so nice and just asking all the questions right now when they're in the suite together, popping the champagne. Craig's like, oh, how many generations have you lived here? And blah, 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 blah. But it's like you can tell Cienna doesn't want to be there. So it's very confusing. But as we heard in prior episode, Whitney said that she reached out to him first on Raya. So she obviously is a bit of a clout chaser and maybe just desperately wanted to get on the show. But if that's all you want is to get on the show, well, you're on the show right now and you don't look enthused about it at all. So I'm really confused, like where her head's at, why she's even wasting her time if she doesn't like Shep. At least pretend to like him just for the season to be on the show if that's the fun of it. But I really am interested to see how the rest of this trip goes. And as always, you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. But I think that's it. We packed a lot in. We did the premiere of Summerhouse. It's going to be real interesting now seeing Paige's point of view. We're still seeing how Craig feels on this season of Southern Charm. And Beverly Hills is going to be better next time. So I'm excited to recap next week's when Sutton and Dorit kind of go out. Makes them come alive. You're so picture perfect.